Namaste. Akhil
Hi.
Jugran from the Poverty Agenda. Today we're going to be discussing one of the SDG's first goals of the objectives. The first one being end poverty in all its forms everywhere. And the second is goal 8, which is promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. I mean, these two topics, we're sticking at the general level because the SDG report gives quite a lot of detail in its assessment. And here I've got a very old and fantastic friend and mentor of mine, Shastry, who's going to be joining in the discussion today.
Thank you. Thank you, Akhil. Thanks for inviting to me the call. This is VIJAY Sastry. I am a retired development professional. I am doing a freelancing work at the moment, but I have worked with many international organizations, and last one being Child Fund International, and previously worked with Room to Read also as Asia Regional Director for the monitoring and evaluation function. And I was also country manager for Care India, Plan International, and I was program director with Water Aid. So, in all my experiences, we had touched the base with the SDGs in some form or the other, and all our development programs were oriented towards achieving those SDGs and contributing our bit to that.
Thank you. We'll start off with the first question or topic of discussion is that how exactly do you see poverty alleviation, from based on the experience that you've had visiting countries and looking at and experiencing the changes that people are going through all over the world.
Um, Poverty is actually, though we call it as a no poverty, but poverty exists some form or the other. But I think the level seems to have been decreasing faster, particularly in case of India, for example. I think the below poverty line percentage has come down heavily, and now it seems to be around 18 to 20% or so. And recently, the Niti Ayog is the organization which basically looks into the entire SDG related framework at the country level. They developed a national institutional framework also for SDG measurements. They brought out a report for the G20 meeting in June 2023, which basically talks of basic measures they are undertaking to reduce the poverty. And of course, going through all the SDGs and their individual indicators and details and all that stuff, and also gathering data to see like how the trends have been, okay, based on the measurements what we do. For example, the national sample survey organization, they conduct their studies. We have a national family health survey, they do some assessment of the poverty, and government itself brings out poverty level information periodically by the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, and they try to compile all that stuff. But if you see the trends in terms of improving the purchasing power or living conditions of the people, there seems to be a tremendous change, we should say, for two reasons. One is about the general awareness at the public level in terms of the rights they have in terms of getting the participation in their own development and growth. I think there seems to be a lot of active participation at the community level, and on the other side, the government also providing a lot of facilities to the people in general in terms of improving their ease of living, in terms of the basic services, and making them participate in the development processes, and reducing the red tapeism in between the government schemes and the beneficiaries, and make sure that all the transfer of these benefits happens online directly, so that there is no corruption in between, there is no middlemen. So that way the lot of benefits seems to be reaching to the people directly without much hassle. And we also developed, we means in India, for example, we developed along with UNDP, a multi-dimensional poverty index has been defined. You must be aware of that. which basically consists of is a composite index. Okay, basically the indicators coming from multiple sectors. For example, if you are having access to safe drinking water and sanitation, it is also part of poverty. I mean, in terms of you are actually saving money in terms of getting that access, and you are not spending anything from your pocket. Is one way of saving only. So that is one way of measuring that. Similarly, going to the school and having dignified livelihoods, having proper health insurance schemes at the family level, and this one rega scheme in terms of assuring at least 100 days of employment to the rural poor men and women by providing job cards and ensuring that money transfer directly, which was not the case earlier. Earlier, a lot of money used to go pilferage here and there, but now it seems to be reaching the people directly into their bank accounts. And digital payments, as you know, also seems to have increased, and India tops the world in terms of the digital payments that are being done. I think Mexico seems to be the only next to India in doing that.
Oh,
So in general, there is a lot of improvement as far as the poverty is concerned, and the government is also serious in terms of measuring it properly, in the sense like the definitions. You know, the poverty definition is very variant from government to government also, but I think this time it seems to be very clear. That is how this UNDP supported or UNDP coordinated work with multi-dimensional poverty index has been developed, and
yeah.
things are being measured. And I think that periodic assessment is going to happen till we achieve this SDG 1, which is I mean um, no poverty.
Yeah.
And we have an indicator of this $1.25 per day business. I think the current limit that was set by the government also falls around that. Around that. Earlier, it used to be only $1. If you remember earlier in olden days, I think now it has been increased to 1.25. But
Yeah.
I think we are near to that, and I think a progress is satisfactory. And maybe compared to other countries in other region, I think India is having its special characteristics of geographic diversity and multi-million people population is so much. But I think they also have a very good asset in terms of the youth. You know, I mean, the employable age related people, which seems to be nearly 50% of the total population, which is also a big asset to the country.
Mm.
We call it demographic dividend, we call it. But I think at the same time, quality of education, the quality of skilling, the upskilling, and those are the issues and challenges which government is currently facing, and probably we shall be able to overcome them too faster.
Yeah, sure. No, that's great. Very, very positive. Um, Now, are the rest, are the other countries that you have visited, do you see a perceived difference between the first time you visited till the last time you visited?
there are there are, for example, if I see Sri Lanka is the country which I visited most of the times, and I think a lot of improvement have happened as far as the tourist inflow is concerned, and the facilities within the government is concerned. For example, this Sukanya Yojana, whatever we have, I remember seeing that in late 90s in Sri Lanka. I used to think, why don't we have such a program? So there are definitely improvements in other countries as well. But I think, given the natural disadvantages what India is having, it is performing relatively better. But other countries are progressing much faster because of their limited size and limited resources also. But at the same time, they have good connections with other countries, getting a lot of business across the world, and they're also into global trading, etc., etc., imports and exports. I think they're also doing a relatively good job. But India is having its own challenges. But I see general improvement across the board as far as this SDG 1 is concerned.
Do you believe that by 2030, 50% of the populations in these, across the globe will have, I guess, gone above the poverty line and would be retained above the poverty line?
Surely. I think as far as Asia is concerned, I'm relatively sure about that, but not sure much about the African side because I don't have much, though I have little understanding, but not much understanding of
Sure.
Africa as such. But otherwise, Asia, Southeast Asia, Asia Pacific seems to be relatively doing better.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
shall be able to reach that.
No, but what I mean, you've given a lot of thought on the Indian situation, but when we're talking about poverty line, there are two things that you mentioned that we were talking about. One is just the poverty in terms of the $125 a day, and the other one was the multi-dimensional poverty that you mentioned. But in terms of multi-dimensional poverty, how much of the country is actually, or what population, percentage of the population actually does have 100% multi-dimensional advantages?
As I said, for example, at the moment it seems to be around 80%. That is what I said earlier. So the latest data that was available up to June 2023, I believe, as published by the government by Niti Aayog, yeah, around 18% or 18 to 20% seems to be falling below that poverty line definition that has been done here. But the idea behind multi-dimensional poverty index is also it's not only about economic poverty, because a lot of money is spent on basic needs and services also by the people, which actually deprive them of many services for that matter.
Sure.
So that is the reason that economic value of $1.25 per person per day, whatever is the one that was established. But otherwise, it's not only about economic poverty, but also about social poverty in terms of lack of access to services and all that stuff, which also costs money sometimes, but not necessarily always. For example, if you take the case of education, there is a Right to Education Act, which basically brings free and compulsory education to all the children. Though many slip out of that net, but still, I think a majority are actually coming to that. So the idea of having multi-dimensional poverty index is not limiting the definition of the poverty only to the money what they are earning, but also in terms of the utilization of the services for the improvement of the quality of life in general. So
Mhm.
I think that is how the poverty index has been developed in India. I'm not sure about other countries how actually they do that, but at least I am sure about the situation in India to that extent.
Yeah, of
Please
course,
have
of course. No, it sounds very good. Sounds like things are improving in the subcontinent. And do you have any indication of what's happening in Pakistan or Nepal or Bangladesh?
not really sure because I'm not in the Asia touch for a long time for now.
Sure.
Uh, but generally, a general understanding is like their political situation and stability seems to be relatively less compared to India, at least coming to the last decade, if
Yeah.
you can consider.
Yeah.
And they also have a lot of political problems, and we all know about that. We all know
Sure.
about that.
Sure.
So, given that background, probably they must be in a difficult situation compared to India as far as this goal one is concerned, to my understanding.
Yeah, of
I may
course.
be
Of
wrong.
course. Now coming back to India, now is the I mean you've talked about a lot of progress happening and stuff like that. Now, this when you say that the multidimensional poverty is affecting around 18 to 20% of the population. Now, the it's funny to bring this up, but around 20% of the population is also comprised of minorities in India. And
Yeah.
now does the multidimensional poverty have any relationship to being a minority in India?
Um, it does. It does. For example, if you take the case of clean energy, clean energy, the government has made an effort to improve the health of the poor households for that matter, and provided the Vijula scheme and providing all the gas cylinders free of cost, whatever it is. But at the same time, refilling those cylinders has become an issue for many people. Now, as you can see, many state governments and also the central government are giving a lot of subsidy, and the costs have been cut to half. Earlier, they used to be around 1200, 1300 rupees per month. And in my studies myself, I have seen like many families have opted out of clean energy option and gone back to the old methods, traditional methods of wood and all that stuff, for cooking purposes. But government has considered that seriously, and now they are actually giving a lot of subsidy also to the families in terms of getting that access to the clean energy, which is very important. Which is very important. So if that is not the case, then obviously they would have spent a lot of money from their pocket to get the energy which they are not able to. That is the reason they have actually gone for traditional methods.
Yeah.
So government also seriously considering to wean them out of those old practices and see that how they'll be able to stick to this. And one way to do that is providing a lot of subsidies so that they'll be able to have not much pinch as far as the getting access to clean energy is concerned. One example. One example.
Yeah, but offering subsidies is one way of, getting over the issue. But then what about offering employment opportunities? And like you said, you mentioned the skill development, upgrading people's skills to be able to fit into jobs that are, I guess, modern jobs like software development and electronics and stuff like that, that actually has a fantastic market in the world. But I mean, because the same rationale could apply to paying electricity bills or paying water bills or paying other bills. So if that 20% is either unemployed or underemployed and does not have the capacity to purchase, the different dimensions of whatever it is, electricity or gas or water or even food, you know, uh, then how does it happen? Yeah.
I think it is a delicate balance. For example, if you see the outflow of the education, from the colleges and all those things, many millions of students actually come out of the colleges every year, but all of them cannot get into the employment for two three reasons. One is about lack of opportunities. The second one is about the poor quality of education. They don't have the adequate skills to get into that technical areas or the field that government basically requires. So it is a difficult balance in that sense. But I think now many people have actually started getting into other areas also. Earlier it used to be only engineering, medicine, whatever it is. Now many traditional options have come out, and lot of employment opportunities are coming in terms of different occasions. And the new education policy also brought in this option of vocational education much earlier, as early as grade 8 itself, so that they'll be able to develop their
Mm.
mental acumen as far as the options are concerned, not sticking to only one. That is one side. The second side is making sure that all the people the involved in some form or the other employment. For example, if you see the infrastructure development, okay, infrastructure development is having very rapidly in India, as you know. So the engagement of these labor, though they may not be technically qualified, but I think that is also providing them a lot of assurance as far as the access to money and resources and services are concerned. Okay, but I agree there's a difficult balance. I think that is where the government is struggling, particularly in terms of improving the quality of education. You cannot think of giving employment to all the people in employable age, which is not possible. That is the reason they're also trying to develop the entrepreneurship related qualities and aspects, so that you don't look for the job, you try to provide the job to others. I mean, self-employment, for example,
Yeah.
providing a lot of SMEs, and you develop the skills of entrepreneurship from the beginning. And lot of startups have come up, and government is providing a lot of support to them also, so that they will be able to provide support to others who are in need of employment. So it
Of
is
course.
not the job of government only to provide that thing, but I think providing opportunity is very important. I think India is moving very fast as far as the this startup culture is concerned, as you know. And many Indians, responsible Indian citizens, they are also actually preferring to do something on their own rather than going for any government job or employment. As you know, in the olden days, we used to think like, if you have joined a government job means you are safe till your retirement, no problem. But now there's not the case. A lot of competition, a lot of quality issues, a lot of skilling issues, because requirements are also changing from time to time. So I think people are also preferring to opt for non-government jobs at the moment, not only for the government job. So asking only government to provide the jobs is also not fair in that sense. But I think the government is providing all-time efforts in terms of improving this entrepreneurship culture, so that more and more people come forward to not only get themselves some business or opportunity, whatever it is, but also involve others in the same process.
Of course.
I think it
Of
is shared
course.
responsibility with the government. It's not only sole responsibility of government to provide employment. Many people ask questions to government saying that where is the employment, where is the employment. They never considered the the timely engagement of labor for the infrastructure development, maybe technical, non-technical, both as part of employment. It
Yeah.
should not be regular employment. Their assumption is like you are in a job means you are there till retirement. That is what they consider as employment, which is not necessarily true in all cases. I think that is where the government is also trying to supplement and complement the efforts made by themselves as well as the general public. For example, those who are getting engaged are also provided safety net, social safety nets are being there so that they'll be able to covered from one side or the other. But that may not be necessary with all. For
Yeah.
example, recently I was reading the taxpayers base has increased 5 times or so compared to last 10 years ago. Why that is happening? Okay, so of course there are many out of that net. That is a different issue. But I think there is a general improvement, I should say, because as I said earlier, no, if you define employment as I am being there in the office for 365 days, getting some money or the other into my account, whether doing the work or not doing the work, that culture has gone. It should go also. It should go also. So probably that is where people coming forward to fend themselves and also supporting others to do that, work along with the government in tackling this problem is very important. You
Sure.
cannot blame only for addressing this issue.
No, 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 no. Nobody's blaming government or nobody's blaming anyone for that. Whether or not effort is being made, rational effort is being made to decrease the poverty, the population below the poverty line across the globe, with a serious intent.
Yes,
And
yes.
it looks like, the SDG report also compliments all the governments who are engaged in doing this, but says that by 2030, it's not really possible to actually achieve that because of so many things. So many unpredictables. One of the unpredictable is the Israel-Palestine war, and maybe another war in Gaza, or the effects of the Jammu and Kashmir POK liberation, or whatever may be. So let's see what happens. It's it's one of those things.
I think those effects seems to be have little impact as far as the India's economic growth is concerned. For example, whether you take off POK or whatever it is, there could be some skirmish happens here and there, but they are not definitely affecting the overall national level issues. In fact, they have become part of the national level progress, which was not the case earlier. No, at least the the tussle was not there anymore. At least that is my thinking. Of course, I think local elections are also due, I believe, there, which they may go ahead and do it sometime or now. But otherwise, the general situation across the country seems to be like the government is making sincere efforts, but not necessarily only directly reducing the poverty, but through many other means, because it cannot. That is what I'm saying also. Poverty, if you define it only as economic poverty, then obviously there is a problem. There is a problem because you may not be able to, never able to reach that, because someone or the other will be there which may not be able to reach to that level of $1.25 per day per person, whatever it is, or even 100% of the local definition, whatever the countries put. Okay,
Sure.
I think that is where the supplementing the efforts is happening by the government. I think they are serious and sincere in doing that. At least to that extent, I should say. Not only that, I think if people are also realizing that, and they're coming forward to take advantage of all the schemes, whatever are available with the government, and make use of all the opportunities by reducing the red tapeism in between and making these direct benefit transfers, focusing on the digital payments, so that no pilferage or no loss happens in between, and whatever is due to the poor is going to be really in their hands in real terms, which was not the case sometime earlier. So to that extent, there must be upliftment of these poor above that. But whether 100% will be above that definition, whatever SDG is giving, is there or not, could be an issue and challenge. Agree.
So that's fantastic. No, it's really nice to speak with you on this. Thank you very much.